All right, good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. It was good to see many of you in worship in person, many people online. We're going through a sermon series at Beachside called Costly Discipleship. We're working through Matthew chapter 5, and if you missed any sermons, I encourage you to scroll back on our Facebook page and check those out. You can also, it might be easier actually to check on our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and search Beachside Media, and we should pop up right there. And I hope you can get a chance to watch if you haven't watched yet. Anyway, today I'm beginning a new weekly series, a new series of the week for our morning videos called Flawed Heroes. Throughout the Bible, God uses people who have flaws to preach His word, advance His kingdom, and reach out to others. This is important for us to consider, especially today, for a couple of reasons. First of all, our cancel culture tolerates no flaws, and yet, and this is the second part, if God uses flawed people, that means He'll use you and He'll use me. So let's break those down for a moment. We live in a highly charged political and cultural environment. One of the features of this divided world right now is something which has come to be known as cancel culture. The idea is if a person or organization is something someone or a group of people object to or goes against the grain of society, we cancel that person by getting them fired, by refusing to buy from a particular business or from that individual, or otherwise harassing them into compliance. Well, cancel culture is oftentimes associated with the left. I think that it's happening both left and right. And we've got people of all stripes who engage in this destructive practice. So it's important for us to consider flawed heroes who don't seem to be, we don't seem to be able to tolerate flawed heroes now. We don't seem to be able to tolerate anybody with any baggage in their past and their present. We look for what they've said, what they've done, and we pick at them. So it's critical because God uses people like that. He uses regular, average, everyday people with flaws. If God only used perfect people or perfect families or perfect churches, there'd be no one out there to share His love and His peace and His joy with the world around Him. And part of grace is that God works in spite of our flaws. Not because of our flaws, but in spite of our flaws. So we're going to kick it off today by looking at Jonah, one of our flawed heroes of the Bible. And I'm going to explain at the end why we ought to consider him a hero. The book of Jonah tells a story of this man who was called by God to be a prophet. And the number one thing I'm going to highlight today is Jonah's refusal to listen to God. And so I'm going to put up the first few verses of the book of Jonah, chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. So let's put that up on the screen. There we go. And you can follow along as I read. This is Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. It says, "The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. He said, 'Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me.' But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord." Now you probably know bits and pieces of the story. Jonah fled God. He got in a ship. Storms threatened to overwhelm the ship. Jonah takes the blame. He's thrown overboard after kind of arguing back and forth and taking the blame. And he's swallowed by a giant fish or a whale. He's eventually coughed up, and God directs him a second time to go to Nineveh. He preaches to them, and they actually repented. God relented, and yet this process seemed wrong to Jonah. Jonah pouts about it. He wished he were dead. He argues with God. Then he went outside of Nineveh, went outside the city. God provides shade for Jonah, and when God took it away, Jonah again pouted. At this point, God points out the hypocrisy that Jonah seemed more concerned about his own comfort, his own shade, than the 120,000 people in Nineveh. These were people and animals, the Bible adds, whom God cared about. So let's kind of break down Jonah's character. I'm going to put another slide up on the screen. And, let's see, here we go. Okay, there we go. So, who is Jonah? Well, first of all, he disobeyed God. Secondly, he got angry that people repented, which should be the goal of his preaching. He's angry that people repented and then God relented. He questioned God's judgment, and he was more concerned about his own comfort than the lives of 120,000 people, so he was incredibly self-centered. And in many ways, different commentators have reflected the fact that part of his embarrassment seems to be the fact that he preached doom and gloom, that people repented, and then God, in relenting, basically made Jonah, in his own mind, look foolish. Yet Jonah was used by God. And this is the hero part. As I read Jonah, he doesn't seem like a hero to me. He seems like an awful, self-centered, selfish person. And yet, he was a hero because he was used by God. His story made it to the Bible. He's a prophet of the Old Testament. He preached to 120,000 people, and they were saved. They repented. God relented. That's heroic. Why? Because God uses flawed people. He uses people like you and me. So, I'm going to begin this week with this challenge for you. Let me put that slide up on the board. I still don't know how to use this. So, you have to put up with me for a second. Okay. Hey, wow. Okay, it actually happened. Right. Flawed people. I'm one of them. Anyways, here's my challenge to you this week. First of all, be honest about your flaws. So often we lie to ourselves and the people around us because we either consciously or subconsciously think God only uses perfect people, so we have to present this perfect, unflawed, unblemished, almost, godlike figure of ourselves to the world around us. Pastor Christian is so perfect, his family's great, his home is great, his blah, blah, blah is great, and we're not asked about our flaws. Being asked about our flaws then allows us to work on them. We do want to work on our flaws. We're not just being honest about our flaws for the sake of reveling our flaws and saying, I'm a broken person, what can I do? I'm not suggesting it was great for Jonah to disobey God and be self-centered. Of course. I can have issues that I have to work on, and I do, and so do you. So begin by being honest, number one, and then doing the hard work of working our flaws. But the third part is a critical one. Don't stop serving. If I wait to preach or teach until I have myself perfected, I won't get anything done in this life. I'll be waiting a really long time. So the challenge, and the same is true for you, don't run from God or from church or from serving because you've got issues. If you've got issues, join the club. We're all going to work on them together, but you still have to serve because God uses people like you and me. And you're needed now more than ever. Our world needs people speaking love, peace, joy. It's got enough people promoting anxiety, fear, division, and I'm tired of it. I'm sure you are too. I'm just weary of it. Take some time this week to ask God what he wants from you, how you can serve, and then follow his lead. Now tomorrow we're going to look at someone who was a murderer, an adulterer, who had a family more dysfunctional than just about any family, and yet he had one characteristic which God used throughout his life. So tomorrow, join us to hear more. I'll be online probably a little bit later than usual. A group of us are running by Dunkin' Donuts to pick up some donuts for a particular school and bless them this week. And so I'll be on probably mid-morning. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like it, the whole thing we say online. Like it, share it with others, leave comments. I do want you to leave comments or leave thoughts you have. Feel free to message us if you have deeper questions you don't want to ask in the comment thread. In the meantime, have a great Monday. God bless you all. Take care. Bye.